Chapter 21, Blue Bayou. As Chandra stood outside the car, she summoned up her strength and called on Dame Marsh. She didn't know the name, just the energy, and she wasn't at all surprised when she felt the old woman at her ear.
"So you've come to understand why I called you here,"
Dame Marsh whispered, while at the same time asking all the hijinks to quiet down. By this time, though, wayward souls didn't care what she had to say and were out of control. Beauregard stepped in to assist, and Chandra could feel him quietly ushering lost, lonely, bewildered souls through a large portal of light he had created. This freed Chandra up to deal with the one that had started the whole mess to begin with. "Look," she said, rather politely, for how much she felt at being pulled away from her dinner and from Sky. "I know you're hurting. How may I be of assistance?" Chandra spoke out loud as the spirit of Dame Marsh softened, but only a little now.
"I want my daughter to know I'm her mother," Dame Marsh said,
picturing her daughter in front of her as the tiny baby that was spirited away before she even had a chance to hold the swaddled body.
"I want her to know that I care and that I didn't want to give her away. I wanted her to have a better life, and I wanted her away from him."
Chandra was listening, but not understanding yet what she could do to help the spirit of an old soul who only wanted to come to terms with the choices she had made in this past life. "I don't know how I can help you," Chandra said. "What can I do?" she said, holding out her hand as if to ask the spirit to take it and walk with her. Chandra felt more in tune when she was moving about.
"You can find my daughter by following the map, and then you can tell her my story,"
Dame Marsh said to her in her right ear. A soft breeze brushed Chandra's cheek.
"You can tell her I love her, and that part of the treasure is for her."
"And where do I start?" Chandra felt the old lady turn to love now, and she waited, not sure she really wanted to help, but knowing that the peace of the island depended on her tonight.
"You start at Blue Bayou," Dame Marsh said politely. "Follow the clues I've left for you there,"
was all she said as her spirit disappeared to take sustenance. Chandra was left standing in the wrecked out wharf, which was decidedly calm now, as Beauregard had walked all but one remaining spirit into the light. The spirit of Black Bill the pirate remained, and in a sweeping gesture told Chandra,
"Follow me, love. I know the way."
Chapter 22, Blue Bayou and Black Bill. Black Bill directed as Chandra drove through the streets of the small downtown area. He guided her back towards Mario's restaurant and through the four-way stop, heading out to the lighthouse. He remained silent on the short drive and only interjected when she was about to turn into the lighthouse gift shop parking area.
"No, down here, this way,"
he spoke into her mind as she shifted the car into low so that she could maneuver on the sand-strewn path. It was more like a walking path than a driveway, but Black Bill urged her on. When the path became too narrow, she stopped the car and got out. The smell of the ocean air filled her lungs, and she felt an enthusiasm she hadn't in quite some time. She was actually here hunting for treasure with a pirate, albeit the ghost of a pirate, but that was neither here nor there for Chandra, whose life had always been infiltrated by one ghost or spirit or angel or deity since she could recall. Her life was fun and exciting, and she felt again a sense of renewal. This is what she'd been missing at Soul Step. She needed this time to regenerate, and this unforeseen trip to the island had been a higher power's way of stepping in and guiding her to what she had been needing most, reconnection. Black Bill tugged at her sleeve and beckoned her to follow him towards the beach. She realized it was getting late now and grabbed a flashlight from the dash of her car. Her sister had thought of all these details when outfitting her car for island life, and Chandra found an extra jacket and hat in the trunk. Black Bill assured her that swimming wasn't required for this next part, and so scuba gear wasn't needed, that would most definitely have to be procured elsewhere if that became necessary. Chandra allowed herself to be led, but wasn't so out of her element to realize there could come a point when she might have to turn around or stop altogether if she felt too worn out. No pirate's treasure, or anything else for that matter, was more important than her own well-being, and that took precedence if she needed to rest. Black Bill led her through a small thicket of bushes, bent and bristled from the ocean winds. When they came through the other side, they stood in a small cove with an even smaller beachfront, covered in part from view by large stones that had been placed around the perimeter of the sand. The small covelet was bathed in a magical light from the moon and the crystal green waters that stood in small pools about the sand. Everything felt otherworldly in this small spot. Chandra lost touch with Black Bill for a moment and wondered if the ghost had left her out there to figure the rest out for herself. But instead she heard on the wind a deep pining and wailing directing itself from the top of a large hill looking out over the ocean. Black Bill stood grieving for a life that was not very well lived in terms of comfort, but had been filled with an adventure and calling for anything on the ocean. Part of the reason his ghost remained was the deep connection it held to the sand and surf, and Chandra figured that the soul of Black Bill might never make it off the island without coaxing to the light and soul's respite that awaited on the other side. For now she soaked up the moonlight and magical frequencies of Blue Bayou and wondered what they would do next. She didn't have to wait long, as the soul of Dame Marsh tugged at her sleeve and offered her own guidance. "I had forgotten about this place," she said, longingly looking at the surf herself and feeling a longing in her own heart for this space. Black Bill's ghost and Dame Marsh's spirit howled in the wind their love for the ocean until Chandra had finally had enough. Enough already. Chandra spoke above the wind and wailing, "Why did you bring me to this place? I mean, it's beautiful. I completely agree," she said to the spirits, "but what is it you need me to do here?" The wailing stopped, and both Black Bill and Dame Marsh motioned towards the entrance carved in between two of the stones on the upper part of the small cove. "Treasure awaits." Black Bill motioned Chandra on. "The fate of the island begins in this space, here and now," he said somewhat cryptically. "And what does that mean to me?" Chandra asked, hoping this would end soon, for she was tiring. "Dig now," Black Bill sputtered into the wind. "Dig now!"